In this video, we want to use PowerShell to implement AppLocker. And so we all know PowerShell is a simple noun-verb agreement language. Collections of PowerShell commandlets are held in what we call modules. And so if I want to work with a particular module, I may have to import it. And so in the example here, we're going to begin by importing the module AppLocker. And from there, we can see the list of AppLocker commands by running the get command commandlet. With the AppLocker specification, and you'll note I use the asterisk to indicate any commandlet that includes AppLocker. And then we get this simple list. And we see that there's really only two nouns here, AppLocker policy and AppLocker file information. And then there's a few verbs over here, get, new, and set. Get will always return information to me. New will always create a new object. Set will set a configuration change on an existing object. And then test will test the AppLocker policy. So let's say, well, one of the most basic commandlets here is the get AppLocker file information. Now, for example, I want to do an inventory of the file hashes and paths of every file that's in a particular directory, right? The Windows directory maybe, or the System32 directory. Well, I can do that with that get AppLocker file information commandlet. And then I can base my AppLocker policy on the information returned. Now, it's my first time using it. I want some information about how to work it. I do a get help. This is tremendously useful if you're not familiar with this, guys. Get AppLocker file information. And if I just do that, I get the synopsis and the syntax on the commandlet. Right? Get AppLocker file information gets the file information necessary to create the AppLocker rules from a list of files or an event log. Well, that's beautiful. Now, how do I write it? Well, if we do this again, only we add the examples switch, we get a number of examples here. If we scroll up to the top here, we can see the first one. And the first one is a pretty basic place to start. Get AppLocker file information. Specify the directory. In this example, Windows System32. Recurse says to dive into each subfolder. File type, executables, and scripts. So that example will get the file information for all the executable files and scripts under the Windows System32 directory. Now we can do this, right? I could copy that example right out of here. I can then paste it down here, and then I can tweak it. Now I've pasted this commandlet right out of the help file, right? And we can see we're going to get AppLocker file information for the directory, see Windows System32. Recurse says to drill down into each subdirectory, looking for the file types that match executable or script. Now for our purposes, I'm going to disallow the script. We don't need to look at that right now. And instead, I'm going to just call the executables and output them to a usable format. Do you know grid view? This is a handy thing. And when this commandlet executes, we do get a warning that there's a particular directory that can't be searched. And so I want to look at that and figure out how we're going to incorporate that. But then everything else in System32, I get the path, the publisher. If we look up here, we can add criteria. We get everything that we need. Here's the hash. We get everything that we need to build an AppLocker policy out of this information. And then, of course, the way that we would do that is with the new AppLocker policy commandlet. Whoops. There will be points off for spelling, my friends. Get help, new AppLocker policy, and let's go straight to the examples. And so here we can see, first, we'll get child item. That is to say, we're going to call the list of everything that's in Windows System 32. That's an exe. We'll pipe those results to the get AppLocker file information commandlet. We'll pipe those results to a new AppLocker policy. We can specify the rule type as publisher and hash. The user who's permitted or allowed to run these applications is anybody that's in the everyone group. And we'll give the rule name a prefix because this will generate many, many rules. And so they'll all be prefaced with that System 32. And then, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that there are other examples of this here. When we think about leveraging PowerShell, and particularly these scripts, these are great in the testbed for building the policies. And then for broad distribution to Windows 7, 8, or 10 Enterprise Edition laptops and desktops, you would take what you had generated here and import it into group policy as the basis of your group policy configuration broadly. This is a look at implementing AppLocker with PowerShell.